I have 3 deck lists for you. I have a budget, a Odd Eyes traditional, and a newer meta Odd Eyes deck. But real quick before we jump into that, I want to thank Sui4270 for recommending this video, and along with a lot of other people who have recommended in past videos for me to try to make an Odd Eyes deck. So this one's for you. Alright, let's start out with a budget Odd Eyes deck. And now when I say budget, I mean like literally, I don't think you need to craft a single card in here. I say that although you may see cards like Ash Blossom, Nibiru, Raigeki. In the extra deck, what do we have? Decode Talker, Blackluster Soldier, Infinite Imperm. Yeah, those are ultra rares, and yeah, you could craft more copies, but they actually come in a bundle deal. And the only reason I mention this is because new players who are watching this video may not know about this. In the shop, you get a bundle deal, which is 10 packs, and you get 1 free copy of Ash Blossom. It's like 750 gems, so you save on the gems too. I highly recommend you buy them because they're good. Ash Blossom is one of the best hand traps in the entire game. And Infinite Imperm is one of the best hand traps in the entire game. Geki you get in story mode, Nibiru is a budget. Blackluster Soldier comes in a structure deck that has Gaia and Blackluster Soldier, I believe. And Decode Talker comes in the Cybernetic structure deck. This is like the free structure deck you get at the beginning of the game, so you might own a copy. Besides that, we have 3 copies of the Pendulum Magician structure deck. We're running all the important cards from there, like Joker, Pendulum Sorcerer, but we also have some normal and rare crafts. Yes, you will need to craft some cards, but they're normal and rare. If you can look at the top left of the screen, I have like 9,000 normal, 3,000 rare. Dude, but like in terms of SR and UR, I barely have anything. Those are very important, but the normal and rare aren't so much, so don't be afraid to craft these cards. You can even decraft, like, I have 6 copies of Amazement Assistant. You only need 3 copies. So I'm just going to dismantle a couple. Boom. Now I have some rare tokens to craft one of the cards that I need. So yeah, I'll talk about the deck list real quick. I think this deck actually performs okay. It's not as good as the more expensive builds, mainly because this is like as free to play as I could possibly get it. But your end board's going to be looking like this. Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, which is an Omni Negate. Not bad. You can negate anything once per turn. But besides that, if you get, I mean, really lucky, your end board's going to be a Blackluster Soldier who cannot be targeted by card effects or destroyed by opponent's card effects, and a Vortex Dragon, which is 1 Omni Negate. There's not really much you can do besides that, unless you're running better cards in your extra deck, like Appaloosa, maybe you're running Baron de Fleur, because you can actually make that in Pendulums, and Electromite, which is one of the most important Link Pendulum support cards in the entire game. But yeah, this is the budget version. It works out pretty good. It'll be in the description down below. Let's check out the more expensive version. So this is what I would call the more viable Odd Eyes deck, simply because we're actually running the good Odd Eyes cards. We're running cards like Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. This card is extremely important because if an Odd Eyes card is destroyed while this card's on a scale, excluding itself, you can special summon any Odd Eyes monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. That's incredible. We also have good cards like Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, which is not a hard once per turn, but can be used multiple times if you have multiple copies in your hand. Essentially, you can discard it from your hand, pay 500 life points, search your deck for any level 8 or lower Dragon Pendulum monster from your deck, add it to your hand. Also, if it's on your scale, you can destroy this card, special summon a Dragon Fusion, Synchro, or XYZ from your graveyard. Like, damn, those are some good effects. Yeah, it has a monster effect. You're never going to be summoning it, mainly for the fact that you need to tribute 3 dragons, a Fusion, Synchro, and XYZ. You might be able to pull that off. It's not worth it. You're just running it for the hand effect, which is very good. The other card we're running is Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph Dragon. Now this is a ritual pendulum. I think it's one of the first of its kind, which is kind of neat. It has an effect that during the end phase you can add a ritual spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. I messed around with the numbers, seeing if I wanted to run a card called Odd Eyes Advent, which allows you to ritual summon this card, but you could also just pendulum summon it from your hand. So you don't really need a ritual summon it at all. It's just if you do, you get an additional effect where you can special summon an Odd Eyes from your extra deck. It's cool, but you could just pendulum summon it anyways. Essentially what all this card does is it negates a spell. So when you pendulum summon it from your hand, you can negate a spell or effect, and it's a quick effect, so you can do it during your opponent's turn. And yeah, I'll talk about the deck besides that real quick. We got 3 copies of Max C, very powerful hand trap. We have Odd Eyes Valent. It sends an Odd Eyes from your deck to the graveyard. It becomes a level 7, which is nice because it can like allow you to go into your XYZ 7s a little bit easier. Running a small Performapal engine, Performapal Lineage, and Performapal Gentrude work very well with each other. Gentrude a little bit more better with the odd eyes, because if you have a Performapal Lineage in your other scale, and one's a scale 1 and one's a scale 8, which allows you to pendulum summon the odd eyes from your hand, you can add an odd eyes from your deck to your hand. That's not a bad effect at all. It's pretty good. So both of them work pretty well with each other. We also got one copy of Pendulum Sorcerer. It's more just Performapal support, but it is in there because it pops cards which might synergize very well with Arc Pendulum Graph if you have that already as a scale. We have 3 Skullcrobat Joker, which can add you an odd eyes from your deck to your hand. It's just a normal summon, pretty powerful. 1 odd eyes Butler. This card, when it's in your hand or graveyard, you can destroy a Performapal or odd eyes monster card you control, special summon it. If it's destroyed, it goes on your scale. It's a Performapal and odd eyes in name, so it's quite searchable as well. And then we have 3 odd eyes Seer. Now this card is relatively new, and it's pretty important for the main fact that it has a lot of good effects. The first effect, the Pendulum one. You can target 1 Performapal or odd eyes in your graveyard, add it to your hand, and destroy this card. Well, the destruction effect triggers Arc Pendulum Dragon, so you get a free special summon from your deck. But not only that, you get to add a odd eyes from your graveyard. And what odd eyes generally goes to your graveyard pretty easily? Well, the one that you discard from your hand, pay 500 life points, and add a dragon from your deck to your hand. So yeah, and that's not a hard one to return. So if you activate Revolutionary Dragon, you have Seer in your Pendulum scale. You can discard Revolutionary Dragon, search your deck for something, maybe a Arc. Then you activate Seer, then you activate Arc, and then Seer's gonna pop himself, add back the Revolutionary. Arcs get a special summon directly from the deck, and then you can activate Revolutionary again if you want. It's like, that's a pretty nice combo. That's why we're running 3. I have 1 copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Should you run this in your build? No, well, no. In fact, if you don't want to run Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, you should bump up Butler to 2. Because Butler is pretty cool. Butler's a good one. But that doesn't mean that Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon is completely useless. It is the main star of the deck. Plus, if you played the game around the anniversary, you're going to have a shiny version. And I mean, if you're playing Odd Eyes, you probably want to play with the high rarity version, right? Because it looks cool. That's the only reason it's in the deck. It's just to appease you or the fans who like Odd Eyes. Relatively, I would not run this card, but it's a nice looking card. It's very shiny. And I mean, you know, people might want to run it, so run it. 1 Astrograph. This card works really well with Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. It's like they go hand in hand. They're amazing combo. 1 Performapal Odd Eyes Dissolver. You can special summon this directly from the deck using Arc Pendulum. It allows you to go into a fusion, a very good fusion actually. Odd Eyes Vortex, which is an Omni Negate. And then we have 3 Revolutionary, searches your deck for a dragon. 3 Pendulum Graph. It's a spell negate when it's pendulumed on your side of the field. 3 Duelist Alliance. It searches your deck for a pendulum monster, Arc Pendulum Dragon. So you can search out Arc, which is nice. But you could also search out Pendulum Sorcerer. I don't know if you can search out Pendulum Graph. I don't own the card, so I was not able to check. But just being able to search out Arc is good enough. But if you can search out the Ritual too, then hey, that makes the card better. We have 3 Spiral Flame. It searches your deck for an Odd Eyes level 7 monster. Or you can just destroy a card in the field if you control an Odd Eyes. So, I mean, it's not bad. It has a lot of versatility. And 3 Sky Iris, which is destroy a card, add an Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand. Also protects your Magician, Performapal, Odd Eyes in your Pendulum skill from like being targeted by card effects, which is kind of nice. It's a good effect. I'll talk about the extra deck. It's more important in this one. Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. It's special summonable by using Absolute. When Absolute sent to the graveyard, you can special summon Vortex. You can also special summon it using Dissolver, which fusion summons it. Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom. You don't use Polymerization to fusion this. You just tribute 2 monsters, so it's kind of like you're link summoning this, but it's a fusion. And yeah, it can copy the effect and make sure all monsters do pierce. And Tornado Dragon essentially is just detach, destroy spell trap on the field. This deck doesn't really have ways to get rid of spell or traps. I mean, it does. We do have a Spiral Flame Strike, but not really much besides that. And spell and traps can get really nasty, so Tornado Dragon kind of helps us in that aspect. We have 1 Big Eye because we're running a lot of 7s, because Odd Eyes are generally level 7, 7 star, 7 star. So yeah, Odd Eyes just steal an opponent's monster. It's pretty cool. I like it. It's a good card. It's been a good card since it came out. Absolute Dragon, kind of useless effect. If you can negate an attack, The more useful part is that when it's sent to the graveyard after being XYZ summoned, you can special summon a Vortex. That's kind of nice. We have one Volofrangris, the Darkest Dragon Doom Rider. If you use a dragon monster as material to make this, which you will be doing in this deck, it can destroy any one face-up card on the field by detaching 2 material. That's pretty decent. Also, it gains attack when it destroys like a monster, equal to its level times 300. We have Divine Zeus, which is the best XYZ in the entire game. You just overlay this on top of your XYZs. We have Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. A Pendulum XYZ requires 2 level 7 dragons. This card's cool. It is a cool card, I mean, because it's a pendulum, you know. But the real reason you run this is because you want to go into Rebellion Dragon Overlord, which you can literally just use Rebellion XYZ as a material. You want to make this guy because of this effect. This card that was XYZ'd using a rank 7 XYZ monster can make up to 3 attacks during each battle phase. It has 3k attack and it can attack 3 times. That's an OTK. That's a 1 turn, the duel's over. That's power. We got Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. Yeah, it's pretty good actually. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's the best Link 2 support in the entire game. Besides that, we have Beyond the Pendulum, which it's worse than Electromite, but it's still decent. You can search your deck for a Pendulum monster if it's summoned in the extra monster zone, but I mean, it's just kind of there. The main reason it's kind of there is because we also have this card called Sprite Elf. Sprite Elf is amazing for the fact that your Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, you can use the effect once on the field, and then you can go into Sprite Elf, and then you can bring back your Heavy Metal Foes Electromite if your opponent has a monster. And this is a quick effect, so you can do it during either player's turn, and it'll allow you to go into bigger Link monsters like Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess, which can negate like what, 2, 3, or 4 monster effects. That's like a lot of monster effects, and it's kind of hard because once you make Appaloosa, your opponent's like, whoa, I got to get rid of that card or I just can't play the game. We also have Borderland Dragon, which is a Link 5, 5 monsters, or if you use a Link 2, it's 4 monsters. This guy essentially is in here just for the fact that cannot be destroyed by battle, cannot be destroyed by card effect, and cannot be targeted by monster effects. It's just like annoying. It's annoying to get over. Also, what else? It can attack all monsters your opponent control once each. I mean, that's kind of cool, right? And then the final card in the extra deck is Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This is only in here because you can use one of your opponent's monsters as material to summon this card. Meaning, if your opponent has a really powerful monster and you're like, man, what do I do? Okay. Pendulum 4 monsters, and then use your 4 monsters and use your opponent's monster, make this girl. So it kind of gets rid of your opponent's monsters. She also has other effects, but generally she's just in here to get rid of an opponent's monster. The final deck that I really didn't want to make, but I knew I had to because of the release of the new powerful cards, Kashtira Eyes. Yes, we're combining Odd Eyes, which is a level 7 deck, with Kashtira, which is a level 7 deck. So it's the same thing as like the last one. I'm not going to go too much in depth. So if you skipped, I'm sorry. I already explained most of the Odd Eyes card like 5 minutes ago. But yeah, essentially we're just running Maxi, most powerful hand trap. We have 1 Kashtira Rise Heart. Main reason for this is because if you have a Fenrir, you're going to be searching out a Rise Heart, which is immediately you go into a rank 7, or you get 2 7s on the field, which is nice because it's just a 1 card rank 7. Fenrir, the most powerful Kashtira currently in the game, in my opinion. Some people might disagree, but when more Kashtira cards come out, yeah, unicorns could be better. But right now, Fenrir is pretty good because it adds a Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand. Also has an effect where if your opponent activates a monster effect, which is so dumb, or when this card declares an attack, target a face-up card your opponent controls, just banish it face down. Like, it's just powerful. 3 copies of Unicorn, just special summon it from your hand and you control no monsters. During your main phase, add a Kashtira spell, which we do have 2 copies of, which are pretty good. And yeah, if this card attacks or your opponent activates monster effect, look at your opponent's extra deck, banish one of them face down. That's just a good effect. We run 3 copies of Odd Eyes Valiant. Main reason for this is we send an Odd Eyes card from our deck to the graveyard. Sending to the graveyard's good because we have Seer, who can like add back from the graveyard, so this is kind of like a search. Also, this card level becomes 7 because we're sending an Odd Eyes most likely. So yeah, that helps. It's just a normal summonable 7, which can allow us to go into rank 7s even easier. We have 3 copies of Skullcrobat Joker. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I like Skullcrobat Joker in this deck for the main reason that I mean, yeah, he's cool. He adds any Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand, or Performapal, which is, it's cool. But he's a level 4. He doesn't truly synergize well with the deck. I guess the main thing you'll be using Joker for is going into Electromite or Beyond the Pendulum or any Link monster. That's about it. 1 copy of Odd Eyes Butler. He's just there as send fodder if we need to use Valiant for that, or if we're going to send him using Seer. 3 copies of Seer, super important. 1 Astrograph Sorcerer. Best hand-in-hand combo with Electromite. 1 Dissolver, just special summon with Arc. 3 Revolutionary, just a search from the deck. 3 Pendulum Graph, it's a spell negate when it's Pendulum summoned. Only 2 Duelist Alliance. Main reason I'm not running 3 is because it's just hard to fit. The deck's kind of tight already. If anything, maybe you take out a Joker, you add a Duelist Alliance, but I mean, I don't know. Joker's pretty good, so we're going to keep him at 3. 3 Spiral Strike, pretty good. 1 Pot of Prosperity. It just searches your deck for the card you need. Only 2 Sky Iris. Yeah, I mean, you could run 3, but we're only running 2 in this one. And 2 Kashtira Birth. This card is really important. It's searchable with Kashtira Unicorn. And it's just, you can normal summon a level 7 without tributing. Well, Odd Eyes is a level 7. So, and the Kashtira's are level 7. So it just allows you to just play the game even easier. Also, during your main phase, you can special summon 1 non-XYZ Kashtira that's banished from your graveyard. And then you can just banish cards in your opponent's graveyard. It's cool. Let's look at the extra deck. Vortex Dragon in, Omni Negate, Big Eye, steals opponent's monsters, Absolute Dragon, just summons Vortex in easier way. 2 Diablos, the Mind Hacker. This guy is banned in the TCG, might be banned in Master Duel in the future, but essentially what this card does is you detach a material, look at your opponent's extra deck, banish 1 card from it face down. Now that's not incredibly powerful, but the main reason that it's like used in this deck and at 2 copies is because of this card. Kashtira Shangri-La. Each time a card your opponent owns and possesses is banished face down, you can choose 1 unused main monster zone or spell and trap zone, and they can't use it. So what you do is you summon Shangri-La and you have Diablos. Diablos, you look at their extra deck, and then you banish a card from their extra deck face down, and then they can't use one of their zones. And eventually, over the course of the game, they just can't play the game. They can't use any of their zones. So it just gets kind of annoying. It's kind of hard to beat. We have Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, because we do run dragons. We have Dark Anthelon Dragon. This one's a cool one. It's a Pendulum Dragon. It can be made with generic level 7s. And it's a quick effect where you can target an opponent's face-up monster. Its attack becomes halved, and then this card gains the lost attack. And then if it's destroyed, it becomes on a scale, and it's a scale 10, which is not bad. So it's a cool card. I really do like it. And then, of course, since we're running Rebellion Dragon, we have to run Rebellion Dragon Overlord, because it's just attacks 3 times and it has 3,000 attack. It just ends games. 1 Electromite, 1 Beyond the Pendulum, 1 Unicorn. You can take out Unicorn for whatever you want. I just think Unicorn's kind of nice to have that. And Appaloosa. But yeah, those are the decks. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video of Odd Eyes. I'm sorry there's not enough gameplay. I don't own the cards. I'm sorry. I don't own the cards. I'm poor, bro. Regardless, yeah, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a great day or night, and consider subscribing and liking the video. Maybe I'll catch you next time. Peace.